It was on July 11 that McDermott's ex-wife finally reported him missing. And what made her suspicious is that McDermott was supposed to visit his son, Chance, 11-year-old Chance, and he didn't show up. 5 days later, she calls police. Police begin investigating, and this is what they learn. They go back to the Freedom, the fishing boat, and they find out that the Freedom has found his wallet with all of his money, credit cards, ID, everything is in his wallet intact, and they've been trying to reach him. They also find McDermott's fanny pack. It's under the pillow where he slept on the boat that night. And in his fanny pack is his passport, a lot of his information, his car keys. Speaking of his car, his silver Hyundai was found parked there at the ship docking and launch area. He never got in his car and left. They get back that evening around 7 p.m., but it's not until July the 4th that they find the fanny pack and that they find his belongings, his wallet and fanny pack. They keep trying to contact him over a period of days. So a week passes. July 11 is when his ex-wife contacts police. This after McDermott misses an appointed visitation with his son, Chance. So that's the timeline. So well over a week has passed since he disappears that anybody really puts the pieces together.
I would bet my money on it that he got off of the boat and from that ramp somewhere out there.
The Coast Guard investigation, which was actually released in 2008, determined that McDermott most likely died at sea.
The U.S. Coast Guard's Cold Exposure Survivability Model Program determined that this many days after he had gone missing in such a large area of water, determined that a search would be fruitless. They determined that in those circumstances, he could stay alive in the water for about 14 hours, and that time had long since passed. Now, the boat captain says that he would have had an opportunity at that time of the night, 7 p.m., to jump into the water and disappear, and no one would have noticed. No one heard screaming or yelling. No one heard man overboard. No one heard a splash. Nothing. His mental state leading up to the trip was fairly unquestioned. Olivia Newton-John did not think that he was sad, depressed, suicidal, nothing of the sort, nor did any of his acquaintances. There was an incident about 15 years before where he had taken a cocktail of drugs. That was a concern. And then about 3 months before he disappeared, he had bought a .357 Magnum weapon. But there was no indication whatsoever that he was depressed or sad. We know he had some money problems, but who doesn't?
If you just want to kill yourself and have your son, for example, get the insurance money, you can just drive into a tree. It's over with, it's done with, and there's no question. But what we had after he disappeared was a very odd downtime by Olivia Newton-John. She didn't seem to have a response to the missing ex-boyfriend. I mean, where was he? For a long time, she didn't say a thing. And that's pretty weird, because you would think she says how much she loved him and still loves him and is worried about him, but yet there was this quiet time. My guess is, and I can't say that she said this, or this actually happened, but sometimes when people want to disappear, they go to the one closest to them and they say, look, I can't handle this anymore, and my life is going down the toilet.
Wait a minute, wait. Let me get this straight. Pat Brown, veteran criminal profiler, you're trying to drag Olivia Newton-John into the big scam? Okay, I'm not buying that. To Brian Mears,
I'm just saying
I'm just saying, I hear what you're saying.
That's why she would, you can't, if somebody's told you this, if somebody's told you they want to disappear, you don't want to get in their way, you're just going to keep quiet about it. I think that's what happened. I can't prove it, but I think that's what happened.
I will tell you what I think about Olivia Newton-John. I think that she is a very famous lady, and this is an ex-boyfriend, and she said, I'm distancing myself from this whole ball of wax. But there's Pat Brown with the conspiracy theory.
She hired in somebody to go look for him. Remember that? eventually she hired someone to come in and go find him. It took an awful long time. I think she knew exactly
Let's go to Brian Neary, defense attorney. Brian, for faking your own death, if that's the case here, if that's the scenario, can he be prosecuted?
Well, if they can show that there was some fraud involved here, that it was being done for some merit. Of course, he had this insurance policy, so if they could show that he was fraudulently faking, he was faking his death so that somebody could benefit from the money, that's one possible way. Now, Mr. McDermott has his own problem here. He's got he's got support payments he's going to make.
The thing that makes this case such a mystery and so mysterious is that although the Coast Guard determined that he most likely was drowned and his body was at sea somewhere, there have been reports, primarily from a private investigator, that McDermott actually is residing in Mexico under an assumed name, wanting to disassociate himself with any part of his life in California, but to remain alive and work on boats, work on ships. Pictures were taken down to different points in Mexico of Robert McDermott, and people said they recognized this person, that they had seen this person. There was even a group of attorneys that emailed saying, our client is telling you to please stop looking for him. Well, the fact is, he was very much in debt when he left on that fishing trip. He owed back child support for his daughter. He had tried to determine months before if he could upgrade his life insurance policy. He didn't do anything with that in the end, but the question still remains, did he have a motive for leaving this life behind and taking on a new life?
There was some suspicious activity discovered after McDermott's disappearance. When police first looked at his computer, it indicated that he had created another identity. But then it was determined that that had been done by the previous owner of the computer, not McDermott. And they could easily tell that by the dates on the activity. It was before McDermott owned the computer. But this is interesting. McDermott destroyed all of his emails on his computer before he disappeared, everything. And then we learned that before he disappeared, he inquired about having his life insurance policy increased from $100,000 to $500,000. He never went through with it, but he did inquire into it. Now, there is an investigative reporter, Philip Klein, who was hired by NBC Dateline to try and find McDermott. He claims McDermott is alive and well. He also claims that McDermott left California to avoid the glow of Olivia Newton-John, living in her shadow, and that he wanted to avoid paying the $8,000 back child support he owed.
The report came from family members who reported him missing after he failed to show up for an event.
They contacted the Coast Guard directly?
They contacted, I'm not sure if it was first the Coast Guard, but the Coast Guard, they contacted authorities.
Do you know who? Who contacted from his family?
I believe it was his ex-wife, but I'm not sure.
What are the possibilities, and what does the Coast Guard think is most probable as to what happened here?
Right now, we're still treating it as a missing persons case. From the start, the investigation has been for a missing person, and along those lines, through interviews and stuff, it's all the interviews up to this point, it's remained a missing persons case, and until the interviews lead us in the other direction, we're still treating it as that.
Is the likelihood that he fell overboard, or what?
We do not know. That's what the interviews are trying to determine.
No foul play indicated anywhere?
We're trying to determine what exactly happened and what's been going on. So,
okay, the Freedom is an 85-foot sport fishing boat. It has capacity for 86 bunks. There were 23 people on the boat, 23 passengers, 5 crew. 3 of the crew were licensed captains. The boat leaves the same time every night, 10 o'clock. It basically fishes the same place, San Clemente Island. They follow the same courses. On the way home, they follow reciprocal courses to get back. Everything's done on a computer now, and it's just the same thing over and over again.
Right.
The deal about collecting the galley tab at the turning buoy, that's been done every day at the same place for year after year. That's their procedure.
And it serves kind of as a roll call, if you will, for that moment in the trip.
Really, but that's not the absolute reason why. The reason is the crew needs to get their money.
Exactly.
roll calls are never done. Usually, in 45 years down here, we've never lost a fisherman. We've lost divers that went down and drowned. I've had people jump over the side and swim to the shore at Catalina or something like this, but I've never heard of a passenger drowning down here, falling overboard.
And how long have you been here?
45 years.
Wow. Okay, so the boat, we got the details. Now, some people say they saw him come back. You found yourself, or was it turned in?
It was turned in. His fanny pack, his fishing rods, his tackle box.
Had been left on the boat.
We assume they were his fishing rods. I don't know. The Coast Guard said someone told him that they looked like that, and he took a bunch of fishing rods. The tackle box, yeah, that was his. It had his fishing license in it. But I didn't open it. I have a policy here. It's kind of weird, but when anything's turned in off the boat, it goes in my office, and that's where it sits, and it doesn't get opened. The person walks up and says, "Oh, that's mine." Then there it is. And if anything's gone, the only one they can blame is me. They can't blame my crew or my office people or anything else.
Klein, on his own, no longer connected to NBC Dateline, says that he has heard from representatives of Klein's stating that Klein wants to be left alone and stop pursuing him. Now, we have not been able to identify who these lawyers are. He claims, Philip Klein claims, that the lawyers actually sent DNA as proof of life on McDermott, but that the DNA did not match McDermott.